Hello, everybody. I'm Mads, and welcome to my channel, Mads' Reading, where I talk about books, and I hope it makes sense. Today's video is going to be me showing you all the books on my physical TBR. So it's basically all the books that I own that I haven't read yet. I really hope this video doesn't take too long, but it might be a little bit longer than my normal ones, and that's okay. So let's dive into it. I'm just gonna go from like the top of my bookshelf down. I could not get this out of the box set, but I have read these three from The Darkest Minds. I haven't read Through the Dark yet. I believe it takes place in a different character's point of view, kind of showing everything that happens after the last book ends. I believe it takes place about 5 years after that book ends, and it's just kind of everything after. I finished the series and I was gonna read it, but then I found out it's not what I was hoping for, so I didn't end up reading it right away, and now I just need to get to it. Another box series I have is the Clockwork series. I've read the Shadowhunters Chronicles, and it was okay, but I heard this one was a lot better. Ooh, this is dusty. My bad. But I heard this series is a lot better, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm gonna tell you, I don't really know the plot. I do know that it deals with shadow hunters in like the 1800s, I think. It kind of has steampunk vibes to it. What is holding me back from reading it is the fact that I know it has a love triangle. I don't know if I can handle that well. So I will get to it eventually, I promise. It's just may not be as soon as you want me to get to it. And then, kind of discussed in my last video, I have the Vicious box. I will hopefully be getting to this month. I will definitely be getting to Vicious. I don't know about Vengeful yet. Depends on how much of a grip Vicious gets on me. So, we'll see how that goes. I will definitely be getting to this soon. I believe it's about these two guys who kind of try and figure out a way to get powers, and it kind of leads them down a darker path into a little bit more of a morally gray villain, kind of. And I believe these two former best friends are now like fighting each other. I think that's what the plot is. I am not entirely sure. I know it's gonna be amazing. So that was from the very top of my shelf. Now I'll get into a little bit of the queer shelf, which is my second top shelf. I have If We Were Us by K.L. Walther. K.L. Walther is the one who wrote The Summer of Broken Rules. So I know that this book is just going to be so cute. Definitely a fun YA high school romance. The little like quote on the back is, "If Charlie and Sage are meant to be, why can't Sage stop kissing Charlie's brother?" Maybe this book isn't what I thought it was about. Now I have to read this. I don't know why I've never read that back quote before, but that sounds amazing. Okay, that will definitely be moved up on my physical TBR. Anyways, next up I have Loveless by Alice Oseman. I have two Alice Oseman books that I haven't read yet, and these are it. I believe Loveless is just about this girl who's asexual and kind of finding different ways to have these connections and relationships with people that aren't in the way that society tells you should have. And it just looks really cute. I think the friend group in here will just be like really wholesome, and I know Alice Oseman just writes amazing books, so I know that this will be amazing. I want to get to it by the end of the year, and because I tabbed Alice Oseman's other two books, Solitaire and Radio Silence, I do want to tab this one too, just to keep it even. And the same goes for I Was Born for This too. I believe it's kind of about this band and like this one guy in the band and then a fan of the band and just kind of like their lives a little bit. I'm sure they're going to go through just amazing self-discovery journeys. And of course, it's Alice Oseman, so there is going to be queer representation in this. The little quote is, "Everyone needs something to believe in," and it just looks really cute. Like, I can't wait to read this. Now we have I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. Only Casey McQuiston book that I haven't read yet. I believe it's about this girl who kisses Shara Wheeler, and then Shara Wheeler disappears, and so she ends up finding a lot about this girl and like the other people she has kissed, and just this fun adventure. And really, that does sound good. I will get to it someday. Now, this book, I feel like I'm gonna read this a little bit sooner, and I feel like you're gonna know why, and that is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. It gives red, white, and royal blue vibes, and so I feel like I'm gonna need this after I watch the movie 12 times and need something else. So August Read, anybody? It is about this child of rock stars having to find a fake boyfriend. And we all know how fake dating tropes go. This is gonna be good. It is a adult queer rom-com, I believe. I can't wait for that. And then we have a book that I'm hoping to get to this summer, but I'm really not sure I'm actually going to be able to, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This is a YA contemporary, and there is just a lot of self-discovery in this book between these two boys, and who are kind of opposites and fall together this one summer. I can't wait to read it. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I don't know if this is YA or adult. It does look super good, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this. I don't think I've seen any hate from this book. It takes place in America in 1954, and of course, that's kind of a dangerous time to be queer. It follows these two women on their kind of journey through this time and with their love for each other, and it just might make me cry. Next one is a book that I know Alyssa will be very excited to see, and that is Malice by Heather Walter. This is a YA dark retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and it's queer. Sleeping Beauty falling in love with the villain. Alyssa read it and loved it, and so I obviously need to get to it now. We also have The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. It takes place in the 1800s following this guy Monty, who is in love with his best friend Percy, and they have to go on this like adventure manhunt across the country. I don't know why. It just looks really good. I just have a feeling that I'm gonna love it. This next one is gonna make me sob, and I have to be ready for it, and that is The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. They Both Die at the End broke me, and this book is kind of a prequel to that, following the first two to get the death cast notices, who are being told that you're gonna die in 24 hours, time to live as much as you can, or live how you want in these last 24 hours. And it is a tragic YA romance. Again, I have to be ready for it. I know how it's gonna end. We all know how it's gonna end. But that doesn't take away how sad it is, okay? It's still tragic. Next, we have Crier's War by Nina Varela. The quote on the back is Impossible love between two girls, one human, one maid, a love that could birth a revolution. What is not to love about that? Obviously, is kind of a fantasy with kind of a sci-fi mix into it, which I love it when a world combines sci-fi and fantasy. It just makes it so much fun. And I am feeling a little bit of a forbidden romance. And then the last book on my physical TBR from my top shelf is The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. It follows our main character who is trans and a semidios, so like a demigod in this Latinx mythology culture, and he gets chosen for these trials to kind of compete for like fame and glory, and is chosen by the sun god. It just sounds absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to read it. Okay, next we have books from my second shelf, which is a whole bunch of fantasies. I have A Clash of Kings by George R. R. Martin. I read A Game of Thrones, and that one took me like, I swear, 2 or 3 years to get through because I wasn't like consistently reading it. I only read it every now and then. So I do want to read the series. Like I do want to get through all of the books. I'm just intimidated. And it is a good series, but I mean, over 1,000 pages. I will get to it eventually. Not sure when, but it will happen sometime. I also have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. It's this signed edition. I got it when I went to Denver for vacation. This like really cute little bookshop called Broadway Book Mall, and I found quite a few gems in that place, including the signed copy. So I really can't wait to read this one. It just looks really good. And I can totally see myself becoming addicted to this book. I'm still not entirely sure what the plot is about. I believe it's about this main character who gets sucked up into this world of books and goes on this adventure with these other two characters, and it just sounds really good. The little synopsis says, as Zachary, Mirabelle, and Dorian venture deeper into the space and its histories and myths, searching for answers and one another, a timeless love story unspools, casting a spell of pirates, painters, lovers, liars, and ships that sail upon the starless sea. That just sounds really good, and it sounds like it's going to be a really fun adventure. I hope there's a really good romance in it because We love that. And I just can't wait to read it. I also have another book by Erin Morgenstern, and that is The Night Circus, which I've heard very good things about. I got this one so long ago. It's about this circus that just magically will pop up, and I believe these two people competing to become magicians, like the magician. I think it might be an enemies to lovers story. It is a adult fantasy, and so is The Starless Sea. I can't wait to read this. I feel like it's gonna be a fantasy with a romance subplot, which those always hit so hard. And then I have Fear the Flame by Olivia Rose Darling. I found Olivia on Twitter, I believe we're mutuals, and she would just talk about this book, and it just looked amazing. And I've seen the fan art for it, and it just looks so good. It is a independently published book. It is a adult fantasy, and it looks amazing. I'm not entirely sure what the plot is about, so I'm just gonna read a little the ending of the synopsis because I think it just sounds really good. 5 people, all united through revenge, will have to transcend the odds stacked against them and infiltrate the impenetrable castle if they want to reap the rewards before somebody reaps their souls. Putting aside their differences to accomplish a common goal because everyone knows vengeance is a promise signed in blood. It sounds really good. And I think the romance in it's also really good. So, next up is a book I got for my birthday last year, and that is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. This is kind of an iconic book, and I really do want to read it. I've just heard nothing but good things, and I've never read a Neil Gaiman book, and I feel like that's a crime just because he just seems amazing. And so I can't wait to see how I like his writing style and his world and stuff, and to see if I would like his other books as well. It's about the end of the world, but a demon and an angel who don't want the world to end and kind of team up, but also somebody lost the Antichrist. So it just seems really fun. Like a fun adventure. So that was kind of my adult fantasy books. I have a lot of YA fantasies that I've yet to get to, and a lot of them are kind of like in a series. I have There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. I got this book because I am telling you there's a found family in this somewhere. It's about these 5 characters who are either set to save the world or destroy it and are following this old prophecy from about 100 years ago, I think, and it just looks really good. Little quote says, "The age of darkness approaches, 5 lives will stand in its way. Who will stop it or unleash it?" So, this just looks really good. And then we have the 5 characters: a prince exiled from his kingdom, a ruthless killer known as the Pale Hand, a once faithful leader torn between his duty and his heart, a reckless gambler with the power to find anything or anyone, and a dying girl on the verge of giving up. So, that just sounds really good. Next up is kind of a series. Well, it is a series. I just have the first 2 books: Ace of Shades and King of Fools by Amanda Foody. I read All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christina Lynn Herman, so I know I'm just gonna love this series because if Amanda Foody can make me feel that way about All of Us Villains, I have faith in her for this one. The little back cover says, "Welcome to the City of Sin, where casino families reign, gangs infest the streets, and secrets hide in every shadow." It very much is giving Six of Crows. I can't wait. There's this girl who's new to town. I think she's looking for her mom, and she gets dragged into all of this just corrupted life, and we love that. I believe it's a trilogy, so I don't have the last one, so I should probably get that. But I swear I rarely ever have a complete series at this point. And another book that I've kind of already discussed is Furyborn by Claire Legend. I am just not entirely sure if I'm ever gonna end up reading this or not. But it's on my physical TBR because I own it and I haven't read it. And that is the only requirements. 2 young women, centuries apart, hold the power to either save their world or doom it. And that sounds like a really good premise, but I started reading it and I didn't really like it. But that was also the first chapter. Maybe I should need to give it a chance. Please convince me to give it a chance if you like it. I also have Dark Rise by C.S. Packet. I have had to say her name quite a lot in these videos because of this book, and I don't like it because I don't know how to pronounce her name. I believe it's just about this boy who gets dragged into saving the world, and he gets to learn magic. I read the premise and it just looks really good. I need to read this one. I'm hoping to get to it this year. I'm not putting a lot of hope in that though. I also have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. It's about this girl who strikes up a deal with the Prince of Hearts, and we know the Prince of Hearts from the other series, Caraval, and so if you've read that series, you know that that's not gonna be a good thing. But I've heard that the love story in this book is just iconic. I also have recently found out that it's a love triangle, which I didn't know, but I've promised both Alyssa and Elsa that I would read this one, and Elsa has been yelling at me to read it for so long, so I'm gonna try and get to it this month, so I will get to it very soon, I promise. It's a spin-off series of the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber, and I love Caraval, so I have faith in this one. And then a book that I actually just got for free from my library for doing the summer reading challenge because I'm amazing and I read all the time, so I might as well get a free book out of it. Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao. I really do apologize if I ever butcher an author's name. I really don't mean to. I just cannot pronounce words ever. This book I've heard amazing things about, and it's about this world where these women are paired up with these male pilots and are basically used to kind of sacrifice their lives, I think. But the Iron Widow is known to sacrificing her male companion. So that just sounds really cool. Honestly, go her. And she's called the Iron Widow. Iconic name. It's giving Black Widow, but cooler. I don't know much else about this, but I don't think I've heard a single bad thing about this book, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next three books are kind of all popular, kind of older popular YA fantasy books that I haven't read yet, and I only own the first book for all three of these series, and that is these three. I do want to read them all. I'll go one by one. We have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I don't know what any of these are really about, actually. People lived because she killed. People died because he lived. I love that dynamic. Set in a richly detailed world inspired by ancient Arabia, We Hunt the Flame is a gripping debut of discovery, conquering fear, and taking identity into your own hands. So that just sounds really good, and I've heard really good things about it. I also have Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, a stunning new adventure set in the kingdom of remnants. Again, heard really good things about this. It's pretty popular, so I will get to it. Then we have Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Leia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. I believe this book is a series of 4. I've just heard really good things about all of those, and they all used to be really popular. As you can see, this next grouping came from my third shelf, which is now almost empty, which I think says a lot. It has a mixture of books, kind of some dark academia, a little bit of fantasy, hint of mythology, and then we dive into some of my sci-fi books. I want to get to this next book. I do. I need to finish this series. The motivation, however, is very low. But like I own it, so I want to read it. Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard. This is the conclusion to the Red Queen series about this world divided between the colors of your blood, and those with silver blood have powers and those with red blood don't have powers. And it follows this girl Mare who has red blood but has powers and kind of sparks a revolution. So it's a fun time. I need to get to this one eventually. It's the final book in the series. I can do this. I just have to push through. And then we also have Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard, which is just a collection of stories about the characters in Red Queen, which seems entertaining. I just have to read Warstorm first. And then I also have Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. This one looks really good. It's kind of one of those save the world or end it ones. I've heard this book is kind of like giving Lord of the Rings vibes, and there's this darkness coming and people need to save the world. So that sounds just really good. Heartless by Marissa Myers. I think it's just about like the Queen of Hearts and her kind of having to choose between what her parents want for her and what her heart wants. I heard the romance in this is both heartbreaking and amazing, and I just love Marissa Meyer. I own most of her books, if not all of her books. I just have a lot of faith in this one. I've heard really good things. And then kind of going off them, Marissa Meyer is Stars Above, which is, again, just a series of short stories from the Lunar Chronicles right up there, and it's just kind of like their lives after everything that happened, and I've just heard really cute things about it. I love them so much. I can't wait to read this. I don't know why I haven't yet, honestly. I probably should have read it a long time ago, but I haven't yet. Okay, next up I'll do my fun stack of dark academia books. So we have If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I'm sure you've seen this book everywhere. I finally broke down and got it last year? think I got it last year. Enter the players. There were 7 of us, 7 bright young things with wide, precious futures ahead of us. Until that year, we saw no further than the books in front of our faces. I don't know what entirely it is about, but I do know it's about these 7 Shakespearean actors, and it is dark academia. I should know more about these books, but I don't. I also have Ace of Spades, which just looks and sounds really good. It's about these 2 characters who are invited to join the Seniors Perfects, but then these secrets start to be revealed about them that can just kind of ruin everything. And so it is giving elite private school and dark secrets, which I love that combo. I guess I don't know if this next one's considered dark academia. I think I always personally considered it. Oh well, it's fine. I have the Atlas 6. I know one's paper, one's hardcover, and Elsa will be yelling at me for that. It's not my fault. It's about these people competing to defend the Library of Alexandria, and it has just a lot of magic. I am very intimidated to read this book series. It just seems very intimidating, and I think it's kind of a hit or miss with some people. Now we have some mythology books that aren't Percy Jackson or by Rick Riordan. We have Circe by Madeline Miller. I've read The Song of Achilles and I loved it. It is about Circe, who is this witch from mythology, and kind of like how Circe came to be what we know her as now. I'm not entirely sure, but I have heard really good things. And I do think it definitely has that like female empowerment kind of vibe to it. So we love that. I also have Lore by Alexandra Bracken. She's the author who wrote Darkest Minds. It's about this competition that happens every 7 years where 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals and kind of have a chance to die. So if you love Greek mythology, I think this is definitely one for you. I believe it is a YA fantasy. I think it's kind of a YA urban fantasy, actually. Okay, now diving into some of my dystopians, because I always have a nice handful of them. I have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. It's about this world where humans have basically conquered death, and there are these people called Scythes who basically just going around killing people to keep everything in check. It sounds like an amazing story. Next up, I have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I've just heard amazing things about this book. It's about this girl who kind of just gets thrown into this world of magic. I think she finds out she has powers for herself, and I heard that the representation in this book is just so diverse and really good, so that's another aspect that I am really looking forward to. I also have The Last 8 by Laura Pohl. Welcome to Area 51, home to the last teenagers on Earth. Only they aren't a ragtag group of heroes that Clover was expecting. The 7 strangers seem to be more interested in pretending the world didn't end than fighting back, and Clover starts to wonder if she was better off alone. But when she finds a hidden spaceship within the walls of the compound, she doesn't know what to believe or who to trust. It just sounds really good, and I think it might be a found family. We'll see. I also have Zeros by Scott Westerfield, which is about, I think, these kids who are superheroes. Oh! It's by 3 authors, Scott Westerfield, Margot Lanigan, and Deborah Biancotti. It really does look good, and I, once again, feel like it might have a found family in it, but it doesn't everything. I'm still going through my dystopians, but this one is from my 4th shelf. We have Crossed by Ali Condi. I've kind of gone over this one. I'm not sure if I'm ever actually going to get to this one. It's the second book in this series about this world where it's where they like choose your soulmate kind of, and this girl ends up getting matched with 2 of them and chooses the wrong one. I really liked the first book when I was younger, and I would like to finish the series at some point, but I probably won't. So that one's just like the fallout from the first book. We have Genesis by Brendan Reeks? Riches? Reichs? I probably butchered that. I think this like is an old dystopian that used to be popular. I don't really know that much about it. I do know that it is a series. Let's see if we'll ever get to that. I also got the next 2 books in the 100 series, and I need to get the 4th one. I just love Bellamy and Clark. It has a TV show based off of it, but the TV show is nothing like the books, and I live for Bellamy and Clark. So that's what I'll tell you about that. I also have The Loop. I've already kind of discussed this one in another video. My book unhaul, it was a possible unhaul. It's just like a loop of everything, and he's trying to get out. I also have The Final 6 by Alexandra Munir. It's about these 2 teenagers who are drafted into this international space training program, and they kind of become like famous for it, and they are like getting down to the final 6 of this program. I think I got it because it sounded like a found family. I don't think it's actually a found family. I think it's like a competition setting in space, which still sounds really good. And then I have Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. It's about this girl who's found like drifting along in space, and this crew comes to rescue her, and they kind of save save the world because that's what they do. That's what they always do in these books, is end up saving the world. So that one just looks really interesting. I've also realized I've read a lot more of my YA mysteries than I thought I have. I have 3 of them that I haven't read yet. That is The Cousins by Karen M. McManus. It's just about this family that has a lot of secrets. They come to this, I think, the house that they spend the summer in, and everything's just kind of getting revealed about this family. So they're just like basically trying to survive in their family. I also have The Counselors by Jessica Goodman. I didn't like They Wish They Were Us. I think I gave it 2 stars, but I do want to try this one. It's a fun summer mystery. I think this girl turns up dead in a lake, and the counselors are having to figure everything out and figure out who is lying in this camp. I'm curious to see if I like it more or less than I did They Wish They Were Us. I also have kind of an iconic one, The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This girl gets thrown into this competition with these, I think, 3 other rich boys, all competing for the money that this man left them. He recently passed and he left it in his will. I am probably explaining this horribly. I get 39 Clues vibes from this, not gonna lie, but I will read it eventually because I've just heard really good things. I'm sure I'm gonna love it. So this next handful is from my bottom shelf of my bookshelf. It's my like special editions of classics and stuff. I don't think I'm ever gonna read my special edition versions of them because I don't want to hurt them. I haven't read any of these. Okay, we have This Glory, writers, their lives, and their works. It's just about like all these writers and their lives, and you can see like through the centuries. I feel like this isn't a book that I'm just gonna like sit down and read casually. It's just like one that you kind of flip through, but I have it and I haven't read it, so I guess it counts. I also have Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I love this book. It's signed by Neil Gaiman, which makes me want to read his books more because it feels wrong that I have a signed book from him and I haven't read any of his books. But I've heard really cool things about Stardust. I, again, am not sure what it's about. It just looks really good, and I probably won't end up reading this edition of it because I would be terrified. Another fun edition, Animal Farm by George Orwell. I'm kind of scared to read this one, not gonna lie. I don't know if I ever will, but it is a fun book to show off, and it has like illustrations. It has illustrations in it. My grandma will get me these special editions of books, and they're always just so gorgeous, and I love having them. I am terrified to read them, I will tell you that, but they're just so fun to show off too, and they're just really pretty. And I love those 3. Those were all from my grandma, actually. I have 2 more from her too. We have David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and this is his like annotated copy of it. I've never read David Copperfield. I feel like this would be a hard one to read because like you have his annotations everywhere, so it kind of takes away from the story a little bit. But it is really cool. I also have Gods and Monsters. It's just like a series of mythologies about gods and monsters, and so I think it has a mix of kind of all of the mythologies, like an anthology of classic tales. It just looks really good. I doubt it's gonna be one I would just like sit down and read like cover to cover. It's just one that I probably read a story of every now and then if I'm in the mood to learn some mythology. What can I say? I'm a Percy Jackson girly through and through. I have Alice in Wonderland. I've always wanted to read Alice in Wonderland, and it's just like a fun illustrated version of it. And then I have Pride and Prejudice and Little Women, which are just gorgeous. And because I'm scared to read like the pretty editions, I also got the not so pretty editions. So I have doubles. Okay, I'm just gonna speed run this handful of classics. We have Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, The Book Thief, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This one is intimidating. Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and Persuasion by Jane Austen. Now I will get into what is on my lovely book cart here. I have Lovely War by Julie Berry. I think it follows these 4 mortals that the gods are kind of like intervening in their lives through these wars. I know Alyssa read this one not that long ago and loved it. I have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. It's about Juliet's cousin Rosalind, who kind of goes through some stuff and has turned into Fortune. Like that's her code name now. It follows like Rosalind going on these missions, and she meets this guy Orion, and I've just heard amazing things about the characters in this. Also have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, about this group who just throw this annual end of summer party, and in this 24-hour period all their lives just kind of get thrown upside down. I want to get to it next month. I want to get to it in August. I have World of Wonders. I am not even gonna try to pronounce the last name. That's not gonna end well for me. Anyways, it's just like a book about like poetry about nature. It's like a nature appreciation book. diving into poetry a little bit, I have Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I've read a couple of the poems in this. I haven't read it cover to cover though, so I do want to sit down and read it cover to cover. Also, To the Girl I Once Was by Apurva Krishna Rao. I met her on Twitter and found out that she self-published a poetry book, so I can't wait to read that one. I also have Better Together by Christine Riccio. This one is a YA book about these two sisters. It is Freaky Friday meets Parent Trap in the sparkling, heartfelt story about sisters who find each other and find themselves. So that just sounds really cute. I just love Christine Riccio. I have another independently published book, Cafe at 46 Old Street by Hannah Cow. I think it's just about these like 4 young adults find like a home at this cafe, and it just seems really wholesome and I can't wait to read it. I have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, about this girl who is like having to take in her niece because her twin sister's evil and kind of gets mixed up with this guy Knox who's a barber. I do think there's a lot of like self-discovery in it, and it is a really good romance, I believe. Next up I have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen. It's about these 4 students whose lives collide with one another and just everything gets thrown upside down. Then I have Today, Tonight, and Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. It follows like when they first meet, them kind of like growing closer, and then when they're falling in love. I have The Closest I've Come by Fred Asive. I think this book is just about like self-discovery. It's a YA contemporary. Marco's just kind of finding himself, finding love in high school and in this world that he's living in. So I think it just seems really cute and wholesome. Next up, I have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. It is about this girl, Kath, who is kind of just obsessed with the Simon Snow series and just spends her days writing fan fiction about them, and then this guy comes along to like kind of pull her into the real world a little bit and kind of get her living. It just seems really cute. I have The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This one is just basically about the side characters of all those stories. Like, they're not the heroes, they're just people living their lives, and I kind of love that. They're just like not the chosen ones, and I just think that premise is really cool, and I think it has a lot of promise. We have We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. It kind of gives me the Breakfast Club vibes. I do know it is a YA contemporary, but the world's ending, so kind of a little bit of a dystopian splash into it. This next one I started a while ago and I never finished it, but it's I Hope You Get This Message by Faranaz Rishi. This takes place where Earth gets a message from these aliens saying we're basically about to like come take over, you're all about to die. It just follows these 3 teenagers trying to get closure in these different aspects of their lives. I am so close to the end, guys. I have Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven. Libby is the girl whose name everyone knows, but no one really sees her except Jack. Jack is a guy who's friends with everyone, but he doesn't let anyone in except Libby. I loved All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, so I have complete faith that I will adore this one too. I also have On the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I think it's just about Anna who goes to France and gets kissed. Also have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I do want to read this one. It kind of gives you a look into somebody else's life and kind of life from somebody else's perspective, and I do think it would be a really good book to read. I have gone through a lot of books and it's been quite the filming experience, but I only have 2 more to go. I have The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This is just like all of them in one, so it's like one physical book, but there's like all of them in here, so it's not just one book. And when I read it, because I will read it because I feel like I need to, I'll read it through and I'll just count each one of them as one book. I think everybody already knows what Narnia is about. I also have The School of Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. I don't think I pronounced that right, but it's just about this school that's kind of split into 2 sides, like good and evil, and then like there's a mix-up and the wrong girl ends up at the wrong school, and it just looks like a really good book. I did it! I went through all of the books on my physical TBR. I probably ended up missing one. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if there's a book that I haven't read yet that you really want me to, I will read something if you pressure me enough to read it. So let me know if there's any one of these that you really do want me to read, and I'll try to prioritize it. This has been a fun adventure. Please like and subscribe, and I will actually not see you all next week. I probably won't have a video for next week because I will be out of town and really busy. So I will see you in the next video. Again, thank you for watching. Bye.